Hi you guys, my name is Faye and I need a vacation and I think you do too, so let's distract ourselves with some reality TV nonsense. Today I'm going to be recapping the third episode of Next Gen NYC for you guys. In the first scene, Ariana tells us how much she loves New York City, how it's a dream come true for her to even be here and she can't even believe it sometimes, despite the smell of urine and poop and despite all of the sirens in the city. I have to say, when I went to New York, I was electrified. Like, I could not believe it. It's, I think, to this day, the most vibrant, just alive feeling city I have ever been to. I stepped off of the subway and I felt something I've never felt before and have never felt since then. So I totally get it, Ariana. New York City is just amazing. In the next scene, Brooks tells Ava about the newest Charlie comment about his sister, and Ava feels like she now has to go and do damage control with him, like he's her client or something. And again, I asked this in my last video, if Charlie is such a bother and so difficult to be around, why is she friends with him? Why are any of them friends with this man? I don't know. In the next scene, Ava actually goes over to Dylan's and Charlie's apartment. She sits down to talk to him. The first thing that Charlie tells her is that she looks cute. And once again, I think there may actually be some romantic chemistry between the two of them that maybe they're not willing to acknowledge yet. Ava brings up last night and tells Charlie that Brooks does mind the comments, but that he's just uncomfortable and he doesn't like conflict, so he just laughs it off. And Charlie says that he does see that and maybe he actually should stop because that's fair. Let's see if he'll stop though. Then Charlie mentions Hudson and that he actually offered to fight him. And he laughs about it like it's cute or something. But I think, again, going back to the fact that he's almost 30, I think it's really weird to be fighting at 30 years old. That's just not something that makes sense to me. Dylan, however, laughs in the confessional, and he actually says that guys bond over fighting and that he became really close friends with someone that he beat to a pulp. And apparently it's a guy thing. So my guys out there that are watching, I don't know if you are, because I don't know if this is your thing, but let me know. And they say female friendships are toxic. Next, Brooks and his dad, Seth, who's also appeared regularly on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, go golfing, and they talk about Brooks' life for a little bit, and Brooks mentions to us in the confessional that he has a boyfriend. His name is Cade. They met at Sundance in Park City, and they actually seem like a really cute couple. He unfortunately lives between LA and Austin, so they don't see each other as much. This is when Seth begins to get weird, and I fear in this episode we're going to see a lot of that. But Seth actually asks Brooks about his body count, and then he tells him that he wants to be a mother, which he equates to having a deep emotional connection with his children. I think, though, that it is refreshing to see a father who is completely comfortable with his son's sexuality and does not treat him any kind of way because of it, and is still supportive and there for him. Brooks then tells his dad about the whole Charlie-Chloe situation, and I had expected Seth to be more appalled, but he immediately tries to understand Charlie and says that, that's something he might have said and that's just an immature comment, and he blames it on Charlie's daddy issues. So then Seth even asks Brooks if he should talk to Charlie, which he declines politely. He tells him that he's, old enough to deal with things on his own. But we will see later that Seth was not deterred by that whatsoever. In the next scene, Gia and Teresa are talking, and Gia brings up that she's going to host a pool day for the group. And Teresa's really excited about it as well. And they talk about what Gia plans to do. And Teresa lets her know that she plans to spy on them using the outside cameras. I have to say, like I said, I don't watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey, but Teresa seems like so fun. Like, she has such great energy, and I thought the two of them are adorable. Next, we see Charlie and his mother, Liz, go out to lunch with his mother's boyfriend. I actually don't know what his name was. I didn't write it down, forgive me. But yeah, Charlie lets us know more about his childhood, his history. He says that his parents also divorced when he was about 3 and that he lived with his mother until he was about 10 years old. But he does say that his mother did not provide him with a very stable lifestyle where he would get home cooked meals or whatever, because she was very into the artsy crowd, the British American art scene. And at some point, she did not feel up to the task of raising children. So that's when his father stepped in and took custody of him, and I assume his siblings. And Charlie actually blames his mother and resents her a little bit, because there was this one situation where he needed his mom to speak up for him against his father and to admit that she was having the same thoughts and feelings as him. And she backed down and didn't say anything. So she just left him hanging, and he kind of resents her for that. Interesting side note, apparently Liz dated Jean-Michel Basquiat. I cannot believe that. That is really crazy. Like, if you know, he's a very successful Black American painter. Unfortunately, he died tragically very early, but I cannot believe that she was moving in those same circles. So at the end of the day, Charlie feels that yes, his mom may have messed up in his youth, but she's more than made up for that ever since. Meanwhile, his father is still the same old DICK who likes to open up old wounds. So he does have contention towards his father. Charlie then tells his mother that he wants to improve his career and actually make that go somewhere. I thought it was so strange how his mother reacted to that. Instead of encouraging him, she asked him, what will that give you if you achieve it? I don't know if she was trying to be like a therapist or whatever and see if she could help him open up and realize some things for himself. And Charlie answers by telling her that he believes if he has a successful career, then he'll have emotional support from his father. And I believe he calls his father by his first name, which is strange to me. I've never called my parents by their first name. I've always thought that was very strange. I also noticed the way the mother responded, because I expected her to tell Charlie that he didn't need to change or achieve anything, that he will always or should always have the emotional support from his father, but she didn't do that. Instead, she just defended his father and basically told Charlie to be grateful that his father is the way he is, or else he wouldn't have such a nice lifestyle. His mother then completely, I think, surprised the entire audience of the show by pulling out her phone and showing Charlie a picture he drew when he was a child. And guys, I'm not lying. It was literally a picture of his father being stabbed in the head with a knife, being shot in the head, just dying multiple gruesome ways. And they all sit there and laugh about it. And I was like, oh my God, like there are some deep-seated psychological issues right there. I really think that's disturbing. And if my child drew something like that, I would have been at the next therapist's office with them the next day. Charlie goes on to compare his father to the father in Succession. I have not watched that show. I think I only saw a couple episodes, but it was enough to get the picture that that guy is not a great father, so that says a lot. But Charlie also says that he's afraid to say too much because he doesn't want to get cut off financially from his father. And he calls him a vicious MFer. Wow. That scene definitely provided some much needed insight into Charlie's character. There's a lot going on there. In the next scene, we see Brooks at his apartment, and Shay, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Why does no one ever address him like by name? Is that weird? Is that just me? Am I missing it? But yeah, he comes over to help Brooks with his new sewing machine. And apparently he also sews a lot in his free time. Also, he has a full-time job, but I don't believe he told us what that is. And he tells this funny little anecdote about how his mother asked him to hang up her curtains one time, which he did. But then when she left, he took down the curtains and turned them into a pair of pants. And he's actually wearing them in the confessional, and he gets up to show the pants. I'm like, wow. Once again, I really like this man. He is so funny. He needs more screen time. In the confessional, Brooks says that he wants to learn to sew to improve his brand and build upon what he started. And he does acknowledge the fact that his fashion line up to date was just one jogger. But you know, he's on the right track, so I appreciate that. Good for him. Shay then says that Riley is one of the most genuine people in the group and that she's always fun and down for whatever. And I said, I knew I liked you. My guy. He generally seems like such a bright light. In the confessional, Brooks recounts the events of last night. Everyone went to an art gala event that was produced by Georgia. At the event, Ariana, Hudson, and Charlie cleared the air and said that they got off on the wrong foot. So thankfully, they are now able to move on. And in the confessional, Ariana says that she believes that Charlie has small d energy, and I agree with her. Georgia tells us how it's difficult for her because she actually really likes Ariana and Hudson, but Charlie, obviously doesn't. And he expects absolute blind loyalty from her. So she's trying to navigate that because she actually does want to be friends with them. After the event, Georgia invites everyone to come with her to the after party, and they all do, but I believe Brooks left early because he does not like going to clubs. He would much rather be at home on his couch, and I can relate. Ariana and Hudson left early as well because they don't like clubs. Then Charlie just ditches the group completely without even saying anything, and now Riley was left with Georgia, who at that point she called it under the influence. She'd had like 7 glasses of wine and she was freaking out because she still hadn't had her phone and she couldn't communicate with anyone, and Georgia was actually really angry that Charlie and Dylan left without saying goodbye. Next, we see Charlie receiving a phone call from Seth, of all people, and he, against Brooks' wishes, I assume, asks Charlie if he wants to go grab a coffee and talk about the situation. Charlie hesitantly agrees, even though he doesn't want to, which I totally understand. Even though I don't like Charlie, I would find that very awkward as well. And it gets even more awkward. The way Seth invites Charlie is already awkward. He tells him on the phone that he wants him to know that there's a grown-ass man who believes in him or who cares for him or something. And I was cringing already. And then when they get to the coffee bar, Seth calls him brother. That's how he greets him. And I'm like, dude, this man disrespected and objectified your daughter and you're calling him brother. But as it turns out, Seth does feel that way because for whatever reason, he sees himself in Charlie, and he actually says that. And the way he opens the conversation with Charlie is by saying that he's always wanted to be a life coach and he wants Charlie to be his first client. Weird. Charlie agrees because he said he would do anything rather than sit through this conversation, including chopping off his D, sleeping, and effing Chloe. So there he goes, making another comment again after he just said he was going to stop. Charlie tells Seth that he is uncomfortable with the level of familial involvement in the situation after only having gone on one date, and here I do agree with Charlie. Seth then tries to explain the situation to Charlie and show him how he objectified Chloe, which is wrong, obviously. Charlie, however, lies, as to be expected. He downplays the entire situation. He even denies using the F word. But I think then, because he is smart, and we'll get to that later, because he realizes that this has all been on camera, he backpedals and says that everything's foggy, so he doesn't want to say no completely, but he definitely downplayed everything. And Seth, instead of standing up for his daughter and telling Charlie that that is in no way okay and he does not accept that, he actually says that that's something he would say or would have said. Charlie then takes this as an opportunity to make himself the victim once again by saying that he's apologized 3 times already. Well, Charlie, if you apologize 3 times and then you keep repeating that same behavior, the apologies are worthless. Seth then assures his newfound buddy, that he's going to take up for him and advocate for him with Brooks, and tell Brooks that he needs to move the F on. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is what he said, because Charlie is so remorseful. They then talk a bit more about Charlie's background, and Charlie tells Seth that he went to Emory for his undergrad and then got his master's at NYU. I believe it was in marketing. So that actually surprised me that Charlie was so well educated with the way he behaves. And now I'm wondering, especially because his degree is in marketing, if he went on the show to play a role and if he's just created this character of the villain and is trying to be that in order to further his social media following, or I don't know, promote a brand that he has or wants to start or whatever. Seth then tells Charlie that he's proud of him. And it just made me so uncomfortable the way Seth was overstepping his role. And then he asks Charlie if his father ever says he's proud of him. And I could tell Charlie was uncomfortable. And I think for me, I actually would have been too. In the end, they start talking about sexualities because Dylan, I guess, is bisexual or pansexual or something. And then Seth has to make a stupid, immature joke that he wants to get like that too, but don't tell his wife. Crickets for me. In the next scene, everyone gets on the Sprinter van to go to Gia's house in New Jersey. And I have to say, I love a Sprinter van on Bravo. Stuff always goes down. There is always guaranteed to be drama on the Sprinter van. You are sure to get people arguing, screaming at each other. Some people might be puking, others might be, peeing. Shout out to Heather on SLC. So I cannot wait what the Sprinter van will give us this time. Ariana brings her two humongous dogs to the pool party. And I sat there and I was wondering, did she clear this with Gia? But then I remembered that Gia actually has dogs herself and she's probably okay with it. And they not only have dogs, they actually have a pooper scooper, like a professional person who scoops the poop. I did not know that was a thing, but good for them if they can afford that. The group starts talking about last night and everyone jokingly agrees that Charlie is the first person who will ditch you at a club somewhere. Riley then tells Charlie that it would have been totally fine if he had at least let them know that he and Dylan were leaving, to which Charlie responds that Dylan did let them know, but the group disagrees with him there. And Charlie, like he always does when he's in the hot seat, flips it on someone else and says that Riley was mad at the girls who he was hanging out with. And here is where the very sad thing happens. When Riley disagrees and said that she was not mad at those girls, Charlie reenacts the whole situation and imitates her by popping his neck and using his fingers. And he's like, well, yo, do you think it's okay? Blah, 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 blah. And Riley was shocked. You could tell she was so hurt by that portrayal. And I was upset for her. Riley says that that is a lie, and the footage that is shown by the producers actually backs her up. What happened was she approached those girls very friendly, very calmly, and said, hi, I'm Riley, pleasure to meet you. I do like when people introduce themselves to me and ask my name. I'm friends with Charlie, you should be nice to us. That's literally all she said. When Riley explains that that is what happened, Charlie then says, well, the girl handled it well. And everyone's like, the girl? Riley is once again taken aback. She is hurt. She's upset. Even Georgia, and I have to say I have some newfound respect for her ever since this episode, she backs up Riley and she says that those girls were being disrespectful and they were being rude. Charlie then counters with, well, Riley didn't introduce herself either. All she did was go up and accost her. And you have to pay attention to the words used in these situations. This entire situation is one big microaggression. I would even go as far as to call it a macroaggression, but we'll get to that later. But notice the word accost is, a word to signify aggression. And Riley, again, was not aggressive at all. And we see it on tape. At this point, Riley is not only emotional, she is crying. She literally has her face buried in her hands and my heart broke for her. I felt so, so sad for her. And she said that they always do that to her. In fact, she tells us that she's always so kind to everyone, but whenever she speaks to a white girl, they try to turn it around on her and say that she's being scary. And it's just very annoying to her because she always has to deal with this. So she tells Charlie those girls were rude, those girls were disrespectful. And Charlie can finally agree that that is fair, even though I think it's fake, but he says that them being white has nothing to do with the situation. Showing us that he's clearly uncomfortable now. He does not like the fact that race was brought up in this situation, probably because he knows how he'll come off
racist.
And he insists to Riley that it was not a racial thing. Riley then counters and says, when have I ever acted like this? When have I ever done that? Charlie responds by once again saying that elements of this conversation are extra. By extra, he means that his white fragility cannot handle that and he's uncomfortable. But Riley stays strong and says it's not extra for her at all. Thankfully, Ava jumps in and she tells Charlie that there are just nuances there that he does not understand, and that's why Riley is upset. But Charlie immediately cuts Ava off by giving Riley a fake apology because he just wants to get out of the situation. But Riley does not let that slide. She brings up the next thing that happened, which I talked about in the episode before, when everyone was calling her scary because of the hand wash situation. And Riley holds Georgia accountable by saying, even you called me scary, and I was not. Georgia then backs Riley up and she says, we are good. You know, you were calm. It was just the tone of your voice. And she stands up for her. But Charlie just will not stop. And he says that Riley confronted the little girl. Meanwhile, we're talking about a woman who is at least in her mid-20s from what we saw. And even Riley is offended by that. And she says that girl was probably older than me. And she asks him, so just because I'm taller, I scared her? Basically, what Charlie is saying, the white girl is a little girl. She's a victim. And Riley is the big, angry black woman who's the aggressor. And Riley clocks that too. She says that she does not like this narrative that the group is trying to push her into. But Charlie says that's not what he was doing. However, then Riley rightfully points out his mannerisms that he was doing. And she once again tells them that it is bigger than just this one specific situation. She has to deal with this all the time. Ava speaks up for Riley again and tells Charlie, as his friend, that he should just stop because he hurt someone's feeling and he should just apologize. But what does Charlie do? He tells her the best he can offer is silence. And once again, he sits there looking like a petulant child, and he should be ashamed of himself, especially being so educated. They finally arrive at Gia's house and we see everything's been set up. It's gorgeous. It's a beautiful property. There are flowers, there are balloons, there's a great spread. Shout out to the Brooke Ashley. Oh my God, side note, how crazy would it be if the Brooke Ashley like one day watches my channel? That would be amazing. There are bartenders, there's custom drinks, they're gonna make pizza. They actually have a real pizza oven. The dough is being provided by some Italian restaurant. The mozzarella is being made fresh by hand. There's a tarot reader. There's a lot going on. It looks so fun. Also, what had me chuckling was that Ariana, and I didn't mention this earlier, but she was on the van with this huge sack of what we now find out was laundry, because Gia was gracious enough to allow her and Hudson to wash their laundry at her house, because apparently washing laundry is very expensive in the city. Riley then calls her mom, and Candy is shocked as well. She's really frustrated. And when Riley gets to the part about Charlie imitating her, Candy is like, no, he did not. But yes, he did, Candy. Get him. Now, but you can tell that Candy's emotional, her voice is doing its signature shaking. And she says what we're all thinking, that Charlie would not have done that if Riley were a little white girl. And Riley tells her mom that the reason it frustrates her even more is because she actually considered Charlie a friend, and she has never had someone do that to her that, you know, is a friend. Charlie then pulls Riley for a talk. He apologizes, and this time he actually seems to be sincere. Riley accepts his apology, but she does tell him that he needs to hear her and that he needs to respect her when she tells him that something has racial undertones. And that's where they leave it at for now. Once again, I have to say, Ariana and Hudson are so cute. I do hope that Hudson doesn't end up disappointing me because I love him for Ariana. Then we switch over to Charlie and Ava, who are making pizza, and Riley notices that Charlie has made Ava's pizza dough into a heart, and she asks if her boyfriend won't be jealous, and they both basically say that there's nothing to be jealous of. And Charlie tells Riley that if they were to F, they would have done that a long time ago. And once again, Charlie is just so crass. Charlie then hangs out with Georgia, and he tells her that he is actually not sorry at all. The apology was insincere. He simply gave it to end the situation and out of respect. Georgia, thankfully, brings it up to Ava and tells her that the apology was fake, and she's appalled. So she goes and lets Riley know what's up. And Ava tells Riley that Charlie did not mean his apology at all, but that he only said it to appease her. And of course, Riley's very hurt by that, and you can tell that she actually believed he was genuine this time. Ava then offers to speak to Charlie, coming to him as a friend to explain the situation in a way that might get through to him more. And Riley is really grateful, but she does make it clear immediately that she does not believe that Charlie sees Ava in the same way that he sees Riley. Just because, she says this, she's bigger, she's from the South. Meanwhile, Ava is from New York. She's grown up in New York and she's had all these New York experiences. And what I think Riley's not saying is that Riley is a fully Black woman from the South, typical Black features, coarser textured hair, while Ava is a biracial woman with really, really loose hair who, in Charlie's eyes, probably doesn't even register as a Black woman or barely does so. So Riley wants Ava to let Charlie know that she's also a Black woman and that as a Black woman, the situation hurts her too, and that she doesn't appreciate it because it puts her in an uncomfortable position. Charlie then, of course, notices that something's going on, so he comes up to them and he does admit to Riley that the apology was fake. He feels like everyone should be happy he gave a fake apology, by the way. Riley then lets him know that they're good, and Charlie's like, "Are we really?" And Riley's like, "I mean it, we're good." And I love the shady way she delivered that. Riley then leaves. Ava then confronts Charlie and tells him that she's only trying to be his friend and he's making it so difficult. And of course, Charlie cannot even accept the remotest form of criticism, not even from a friend. So he's now arguing with Ava. He truly does not see Ava as a Black woman because he does not understand why she's upset with him now. He even goes up to Riley and says, "I thought we were good. Now I'm in an argument with Ava somehow." I'm like, Charlie, Ava is also Black. She does not like you being microaggressive or macroaggressive to another Black woman. It's not okay. Riley tells him that's good because you need to realize that you have Black women who are friends in your life. That's when Charlie cuts it off immediately. Riley tries to hold on to his arm as he walks away because she doesn't want to leave the situation like that. And Charlie immediately acts like Riley's like trying to assault him or something. He's like, "Let go of me," like really hateful. And once again, painting Riley as an aggressor. Riley sees this and she immediately lets go of his arm. On the way out, the tarot reader approaches Charlie and for some reason she really wants to talk to him. She said this earlier when they all arrive, but Charlie is not here for it. He's trying to leave. And I had to laugh, honestly. How stupid are you? He's even too stupid to open the doggy gate. So his exit was not as dignified as he probably would have liked. That's how this episode ends. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I hope to see you on our next vacation. Bye.